Now I expect all of you remember the constant narrative being belt-fed to the country about 90% in hospital or ICU being unjabbed. This had obviously been parroted by many tosspots in the mainstream media and of course government ministers, despite the fact the government's own data proves that to be complete and utter horseshit. All that mattered at the end of the day was getting the soundbites out there for the media tosspots to pump out constantly, which is obviously what we've seen. Well, guess what? Today we have the same old narrative being rehashed for use against the double jabbed. Yep, you heard that one right. It's no longer 90% unjabbed in ICU according to Boris. It's 90% are not boosted. I would say you really couldn't make this up, but I actually think someone did, because last week it was the unjabbed, as you all likely remember. Of course, this just stinks of desperation to me, and what's even funnier is the fact that 90% figure is quoted for both the unjabbed in recent months and now the unboosted. I would say this 90% is starting to look like YouGov's love of 71% in their very unbiased polls. Now, of course, it does kind of tell me that they really think the general public are beyond stupid at this point, but then again, in all honesty, a shitload of them probably are. Now, let's actually see what dear leader Doris has said in the Telegraph's article on it. It says Boris Johnson says overwhelming majority of people currently in ICU are not boosted. Up to 90% of Rona patients in intensive care have not received their booster jab, Boris Johnson has claimed in a plea to increase uptake. Which obviously is literally the only time you actually hear from this tosspot these days, because I'm sure you don't hear from him about anything else. And actually, if he was talking about anything else, he'd probably still tell you to get boosted anyway. It goes on, the Prime Minister said the overwhelming majority of those in ICU with the virus had not had a third jab, and 2.4 million eligible adults already double jabbed are yet to come forward. Mr. Johnson told reporters on Wednesday, according to some of the surveys I've seen, 90% of people in ICU are people who are not boosted. So think about that. Think about the risk you're running with your own health if you fail to get a booster. Which obviously, like I said, there you see the 90% figure that we've been hearing for months and months about the unjabbed. It's amazing how it's to do with those who have not had the booster now. Now, the rest of it, he literally just goes on about the usual shit that he comes out with, as I said earlier, telling everyone to get boosted and all of that. In fact, it probably written down about 6 more times in this article, which is, let's be honest, very short. But essentially, I just wanted to point out the fact that the 90% figure is back, just being used on a different group. It's amazing how that works.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.